Today we are starting with a new topic in the chapter number 2, and that is pollination. The meaning of pollination is transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma for the process of fertilization. So we can write the definition, that is transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called as the pollination. Now, this pollination can be of two types. This all things you have already read in the previous classes, that is either in the 9th or 10th. One is called as self-pollination. You know about this. And next is called as cross-pollination. Okay. Now, this self-pollination means the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma within the same flower or the flowers present on the same plant. That is called as self-pollination. See students, I have used two words. One is within the same flower and second, different flowers of the same plant. On this basis, we have two types of self-pollination. Number one is autogamy and number two is geitonogamy. Clear? And this cross-pollination is also called as xenogamy or allogamy. Clear? Now see, what is the meaning of autogamy? If the flower, suppose I am drawing one flower here, and suppose this is the ovary and these are the stigma. Clear? Stigma, style and ovary and anther, stem. Now see what happens. If within the same flower, the transfer of pollen grains takes place. Within the same flower, the transfer of pollen grains takes place. Then it is called as the autogamy. And this is most common in case of bisexual flowers. Clear? Now see the meaning of geitonogamy. Suppose here I have two flowers. Let me draw one plant. This is one plant. This is one flower. And this is again one flower. Clear? Now see, it will make you clear. Correct? Ovary, style and stigma. Ovary, style and stigma. Maybe anther. Clear? Anther may or may not be. Okay, now see what happens. The pollen grains from this will transfer to this flower. Okay, definitely the flowers are different, but they all are from the same species and they are on the same plant, and that's why this is called as the geitonogamy, and this is again the example of a self-pollination. So within the same plant, if the different flowers are there and if crossing is there, like if the pollination is there, then that is called as the self-pollination. Now we will see about cross-pollination. The transfer of pollen grains, what we can write? Transfer of pollen grains from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of different plant. different plant of same species. Note down this, okay? Different plant of same species is called as the xenogamy, allogamy, or it is called as the cross-pollination. Now, there are, see, wait a minute. Yes, now what I was saying, that transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the different flower, and that too on the different plant. So definitely it needs some agency, because without agencies it is not possible for the flower to transfer all its stigma to all its pollen grains to the stigma. So the second important point in this is it requires agency. Clear? Now agencies can be anything. Agencies may be air, they can be water, or some of the insects or animals or even human beings. Anyone can be the agency for the transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma. Now here we will discuss some of the agencies like air. Air is one of the most common agency that helps in the cross-pollination. After air, what we can see? Water. Clear? After water, insects, then birds, then animals. This all we know. After animals, what other agencies we can write down? We can write down about bats. Okay, few more. If the air behaves like the agency for the cross-pollination, it is called as, the type of pollination which can be done with the help of air is called as anemophily. Okay, understood? Anemophily means the pollination that can get completed with the help of air. Next is water. If the pollination occurs with the help of water, it is called as hydrophily. If insects, then entomophily. Insect entomophily. If birds, then ornithophily. Now, pollination occurs with the help of animals is called as zoophily. Pollination occurs with the help of bats, chiropterophily. Okay, we have few more, that is ant. Pollination can also be done with the help of ants, and with the help of ants it is called as myrmecophily. Myrmecophily it is also called as the snails. The pollination occurs with the help of snail is called as the malecophily. Okay, these are the agents, and on the basis of the agents we have the different types of pollination, and the flowers which are being get pollinated with the help of these agents, the flowers are they are called their names like that only, as if with the help of air, if the pollination is anemophily, then the flowers are called as the anemophilous flower. If with the help of water pollination is there, then the pollination is called as the hydrophily, and the flowers are called as the hydrophilous. In the same way, with the help of insects, entomophily, and the flowers are called as the entomophilous flower. If the pollination is with the help of birds, then it is called as the ornithophily, and the flowers are called as the ornithophilous flower. With the help of zoophily and zoophilous. Now, we will see the advantage of self-pollination as well as the cross-pollination. Now see children, what will be the advantages of self-pollination? Number one, because in case of self-pollination, the flower, they adapted themselves in such a way that they cannot go for the cross-pollination. Okay, they modified their form in such a way that they cannot go for any of the type of cross-pollination. And if there is no possibility of the cross-pollination, then you can imagine that purity of the gametes will remain. Okay, and number one, purity of the gametes will be there, and definitely the true flowers, true fruits and true seeds will be formed. As the parents will be, the same will be their coming generation. Because there is no intermixing, nothing is there. Everything is pure, everything is from the same flower. Clear? So this is the first advantage of the self-pollination, that it gives the purity of the gametes. Second important thing, in case of self-pollination, it is 100% sure that pollination will occur, and if the pollination will occur, then definitely fertilization and the formation of the fruit and seed will be there. So there is no chance of failure, because it is a self-pollination within the same flower. Everything is going on. No need of taking any special care for that. So everything is sure, dead sure that now it is going to be pollinate and it is going to form the new fruit and seed. Clear? So this is the advantage of the self-pollination. But there may be some disadvantages also. Number one, disadvantage. If the plant is having some disease, then definitely the disease is going to be transferred to their next generation. Okay, we cannot cure them, because within the same flower, diseased flower is there. It is producing the diseased gamete. That gamete is producing the diseased seed. Again, diseased plant, diseased flower. So we are not controlling them, because we have no chance to control them. So this is the first disadvantage. That if the plant is having some problem, then definitely all its new plant, they all will have the same. This is the disadvantage of the self-pollination. One more disadvantage. Number one, second disadvantage will be, if the self-pollination is there, then there is no chance of evolution, because the same parents, same intermixing, same crossing and same formation. So there is no evolution. Okay, so these are, so we have seen the two disadvantage and two advantage. Advantages were definitely good, 100% surety. Okay, second, purity of the gametes. But disadvantages are also along with this, that is no evolution. And if the plant is having some disease, then the generation will definitely get that disease. Okay, now in case of cross-pollination, what can be the advantage and disadvantages? I'm just telling you some, because if you will go through the book, then you can get many more. Okay, the advantage of the cross-pollination, definitely whatever were the disadvantages in the self, that will be the advantage for the cross-pollination. There will be the chance of evolution, because the two different, we are taking the two different flowers. If we are taking the different flowers, then there is no chance of disease. If somebody is going to select the flower, then nobody will going to select the diseased flower. Okay. So what will be there? There will be the number one, intermixing, and because of intermixing, chances of evolution will be there. We can get the new variety, and the new variety will be definitely disease free. So this is the advantage of the cross-pollination. But side by side disadvantages are also there. Like, what are the disadvantages? This cross-pollination is totally dependent on the agencies. If there is no agency, then no pollination. And if no pollination, no fertilization, no formation of the fruit and flower. So, failure, total failure. So, this is the disadvantage of the cross-pollination, that it needs agency. And even if it needs agency, then agency should be in the proper direction. It should work properly. Suppose I am giving you one short example. I can give here only. Suppose if I am drawing one flower here, okay. Let me draw. Suppose this is one flower, and suppose I am drawing one more flower, that is here. Clear? If it is a male flower, now suppose if the wind will blow from this side, then the pollen grains will fly, they will flew from here, and it may be possible that they will fall here and then they stick and pollination occurs. This is one case. Clear? Get my points. This is one plant, this is another plant. Suppose it is little bit downside. If the wind is blowing from this side, then the pollen grains will start moving from here, they will fall here and pollination will occur. But suppose if the wind will blow from this side, clear? And if the pollen grains will move from here, suppose the two are bisexual flowers. If the pollen grains will move from here, where the pollination will occur and where these pollen grains will go? Here there is no flower. So that's why I am telling you some important points in this case, that proper agencies are required and proper transmission is required for the cross-pollination. This is the disadvantage of the cross-pollination. If the agencies are there, but if the proper conditions are not there, then definitely the cross-pollination will not occur. Clear? So this is all about self-pollination and cross-pollination, their advantages and disadvantages. Now in the next video, we will see the adaptations of the self-pollination.